Dreaming or stop dreaming and screaming.
We shall all start.
What other words do I have that can rhyme with all the screaming and the streaming? Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to the show. Do I have everything working? Is it going? Are we going out in places? Do we just check over here and say yes, 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 online, streaming out, right on? I think we're good to go. So now I can do this and say hi, good morning. Welcome to the live taping of Podcast Pontifications, a podcast I do 4 days a week. It's just for working podcasters, people who are serious about podcasting and want to get better and also want to make podcasting better. Thanks for joining me once again. If you are brand new, this is the live taping. This is not the podcast itself. All the things I'm going to say for the next 2 or 3 or 4 maybe minutes will only be heard by those of us on the live stream. And then I'm going to hit record and actually record the show. So this is the live taping bit, if you will, even though there's no tape. But it is live. And the only way you're going to hear this is through this live thing. Or I guess you could go watch the replay if you want to. But blah. Who wants to do that? Who wants to do that? Today the topic of conversation is something I say all the time, which you may or may not have heard me say on this show. I don't know if I say it on the show all the time, but it is a phrase I use quite often, and that is this. Podcasts tend to get the audience they deserve. That's the whole topic of today's show. I'm going to break that down and explain to you why that's not necessarily an indictment. We're going to get into that. It's kind of an axiom of how I see the world and the universe. So that's what you are in store for. Good morning, Arlen Ambler. Nice to see you, sir. Pleasure, as always, to have you here with me. I'm also thinking about doing a show about hair ties. So, as you know, as you probably can see, if I turn sideways, you can see my hair is incredibly long because I haven't had it cut since the pandemic started. So, at some point in time, I need to do something about that. But in the meantime, I've been using these hair ties, to keep it off of my neck, and plus it just looks better on camera, which means I need to get it cut. I get it. It looks nice when I do something with it long, but look, I just got out of the shower like an hour ago, so I don't really have time to blow dry the hair and do all of the fancy stuff. That's a challenge of having long hair. Anyhow, so I wear these hair ties, right? And I always, at night I take the hair tie out, and stupid me always puts it on the bedstand. And which is like, okay, great, then it's going to be there tomorrow. No, because my wife's cat, I don't have a cat, she has a cat. The cat always comes and steals my hair tie and chews it apart in the middle of the night. I can never find it again. So she's finally bought me this giant bag of hair ties. Because I am too dumb to put it in my pocket or open the drawer of the dresser I'm putting it on and put it in there. I can't do that. So we're going through these things. So I probably won't do a podcast about it, but it's like, why are these things we can't get ourselves to do better? I don't know. Anyhow, Kevin says he just listened to yesterday's episode. It was awesome. Well, thank you, Kevin. I really enjoyed yesterday's episode. It was quite an interesting dive. It's something I'm going to come back to. If you missed yesterday's episode, I can tell you the topic. It was 4 bad habits of bad podcasters. Originally, I was going to go for the 7 bad habits for obvious reasons. If you don't know who Zig Ziglar is, and the 7 habits of highly effective people, I think that was Zig Ziglar. Anyhow, 7 habits of highly effective people. I was going to do a riff off of that, but then I thought, you know what I'm going to do instead? I think I'll probably hit the well on this idea again. I can do 4 more bad habits of bad podcasters. So, hope you enjoy it. If you missed it, check it out. It's there at podcastpontifications.com. Can't miss it. All right, I think my voice is adequately warm. I haven't heard a lot of phlegm showing up, which is good news. I'm back to yerba mate this morning, because I need a little bit of a pick-me-up. Didn't sleep all that well last night. What are you going to do? Okay, let's go over here. I said no phlegm, and then the phlegm shows up. Dang it. That's fate. Oh, don't anger the gods, Evo. Okay, let's read the cold open. Podcasting is easy for like 5 minutes. Then reality sets in. The reality of making great content that people can't help but share. Podcasting doesn't come with guarantees. So is it worth it? And remember, the topic is podcasts tend to get the audience they deserve. So it's about growth. It's sort of, and other things, and quality, and all the things. Got everything wrapped up. All right. Let's see if I can power through this. 1, 2, that sometimes resets the Fleming. Maybe that'll work. We'll see if that's actually made it all kind of flow freely. Oh, there's some. Okay, where's my quick time? Quick time is right there. Recorder is right there. Here we go. Podcasting is easy for like 5 minutes. Then reality sets in. The reality of making great content that people can't help but share. Podcasting doesn't come with guarantees. So is it worth it? Hello and welcome to another Podcast Pontifications with me, Evo Terra. I can't think of a meeting I've had recently where, with either a client or a prospect, where I didn't utter the words, podcasts tend to get the audience they deserve. It's become sort of an axiom of mine, one that represents my overarching worldview of podcasting, if you will. I've heard many other podcasting pundits say something along the lines of, podcasting is a slow burn, or you need to be in this for the long haul. And while I agree with those statements, those all come with a presumption that success is inevitable. Well, you and I know it's not. So at the risk of being depressing, not my goal, let's return to my axiom. Podcasts tend to get the audience they deserve, and unpack that for a moment. What it doesn't mean is, if you build it, they will come. I mean, they might, but they might not. That axiom also does not mean that you can market your way into great success. I mean, that might work for you, but it also might not. So what is it about? Well, first, that phrase, podcasts tend to get the audience they deserve, is first about your podcast, not you, the podcaster. Now, yes, you are inexorably wound together with your podcast. I get that. But for this axiom to work, we need to take the person, the you, out of it and look at the product, the thing that you're making. The product is the podcast is the product. The product is the podcast. And that is what people will or will not decide to make a part of their life. So, does content matter? Well, of course it does. But content is a broad topic. It means a lot of things. Does the sound quality good? That's a good question for you. Or, for your show, is the sound quality exceptional? Are the conversations you're having, or the things you're talking about, is that good? Or are those conversations riveting? Is the packaging of the content, that means the episode itself, the show itself, your website, all supporting properties, is the packaging pretty good? Or is it done with the utmost care? Again, it's about your podcast itself. Secondly, the axiom is about the show's audience and how the show, the product, fits in their lives. Is the length of the show okay? Or does it fit exactly the need that your audience has? Are they getting new episodes from you, from the podcast, on the right cadence? Or is that not the case and they're stepping out on you, stepping out on your podcast, getting content that they want and that they need from others? Or the opposite may be true. Are you overloading them with content? Is your podcast making them face tough decisions of what else they can't listen to because of your podcast? Does the audience like the host, you, like the hosts, your guests, everybody else that comes on the show? More importantly, do they feel a deep connection to the host or host that almost borders on fanaticism? And is the show so compelling to your audience that they can't help but recommend it to others? Or is this podcast just one of many in their listening app? The third thing about the axiom is the odd word tend that I have in there. Again, podcasts tend to get the audience they deserve. Now, tend means that neither success nor failure of any given show is a foregone conclusion. Tend means that we can, with a high degree of accuracy, predict which shows will grow and which shows will stagnate on a large scale. Again, no promises for any individual show, but taken en masse, we probably can learn some things. But also, tend makes room for some external pressures, if you will, and serendipitous events. I've seen shows suddenly find a much bigger audience when breaking news from the real world collides with a big PR push that the podcast is doing, and the podcast then rides that wave. That's a mix of good strategy and luck. I've also found shows, or I've seen shows, who find a much bigger audiences when, finally, the marketing is really hitting the right placement somewhere. Sure, that can happen. But I've also seen exceptional, high-quality, even critically acclaimed podcasts flop because the timing just wasn't right, or the marketing just didn't work, or in some cases, the audience's attention shifted to something else. So when you hear me say podcasts tend to get the audience they deserve, that's not necessarily an indictment. I mean, it might be an indictment if you know there's more you could be doing, or if you know there's a disconnect somewhere on your processes, or maybe you feel like you're just going through the motions, then yeah, it is an indictment, and your podcast probably doesn't deserve a bigger audience. But that's a question for you to wrestle with. It's a question for everyone to wrestle with. But I still feel that all things being equal, podcasts tend to get the audience they deserve. Even yours, even mine. It's all really up to that axiom to play itself out. Let's do some boostograms. First, a big thanks to Mr. Dave Henley from AdvertiseCast for the virtual coffee purchase. Thank you. Along with the following note, keep the great content coming, Evo. That I can do, Dave. I appreciate your support. Now, you can also buy me a coffee, a virtual coffee, just like Dave did. You can also send me a boost message using one of the newfangled fancy new podcasting apps. If you also follow me on Twitter, EvoTerra, you can hit that little monetization, that little banknote button up there, and that will send me a small note along with them, some small contribution that you can choose. And if you don't wish to contribute monetarily, or that's just not in the cards right now, you can leave a review in your podcast app of choice or on Podchaser. All of those value for value options and more are listed, weirdly enough, on the Value for Value page. Yes, I'm renaming it. The Value for Value page at podcastpontifications.com/value, the number 4 value. Although I'm probably going to make it work. We'll just type in value for value works too. Regardless of all of those things, I shall be back tomorrow with yet another podcast, Pontifications. Cheers. Stop the video recording, stop the audio recording, going back to check the chat room. Looks chat room's kind of quiet, and that's cool. It does not have to be busy. We're all good people. So hopefully you got some value out of that. If you are just now joining the live stream, well, you missed it. And while you could back up 14 minutes and 26 seconds and listen to the beginning, the first 4 minutes is me kind of rambling about hair ties and stuff. So that's not part of the podcast. The actual edited podcast will be placed at podcastpontifications.com at 10 o'clock Phoenix time, which is 2 hours and 47 minutes from right now. I'll also post an article. I'll take every word that I just said, and I will rewrite it into something that flows nicely for your eyeballs when you're reading. Both of those things get published right away. If you are not yet subscribed to Podcast Pontifications in your inbox, please do that. That will send you an email with that article, the entire article, not a link to the article, but the entire article right there, easily for you to read in your email, or even better, easy for you to hit the forward button to and send to someone else who needs to hear this, because, podcasts tend to get the audience they deserve. So if you've got somebody who's been going, my show's not growing, send them this. Maybe it'll spark some ideas and thoughts. It's not the answer. It's not going to tell them how to get a bigger show, but it's going to make them rethink, reset their mind around the concept. Because, that's what I do. All right, I'm done rambling. Thank you very much for your attention today. Enjoy the rest of your Wednesday. Tomorrow we shall do another episode, and then I'm going on vacation for a week. But I'll tell you more about that tomorrow. Thanks for your attention. See you tomorrow. Bye.